Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a really significant topic.
Yeah, understanding common reactions to trauma.
Exactly. And we're also introducing something called in vivo exposure therapy.
A technique for recovery.
Our aim, really, is to make these concepts clearer, show how facing things you avoid carefully can help you heal.
And we're drawing on materials from actual therapy work focused on PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Right. So let's just jump right in. Trauma hits hard, it's a shock, and everyone reacts differently.
Definitely unique responses. But the sources do highlight some common emotional struggles.
Like what sort of things?
Well, intense fear, anxiety, sometimes guilt or shame too. Anger pops up a lot.
And these feelings aren't just there all the time, are they? They get triggered.
Precisely. It could be a place, a time of day, even like a specific smell or a noise. Suddenly it all comes flooding back.
Yeah, and the source materials talk about re-experiencing it. Intrusive thoughts, maybe.
Intrusive thoughts, yes. Or vivid images. Flashbacks, where you feel like it's happening right now.
Wow. And nightmares too, is that part of it?
Absolutely. It's basically the mind trying really hard to process something overwhelming.
Like trying to file it away, but it just keeps coming back out?
Sort of, yeah. An attempt to make sense of it.
Okay. Then there's increased arousal. What does that feel like for someone?
It's like being constantly on edge, jumpy, easily startled.
Trouble sleeping, concentrating.
Yes, exactly. And maybe feeling more irritable than usual. It's that fight or flight response stuck on.
Even when there's no real danger present.
Right, and that constant high alert.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. Really wears you down.
I can imagine. So faced with all this difficult stuff, it makes sense people would try to avoid it.
It's a very natural reaction, trying to stay away from memories, situations, thoughts, even the feelings themselves.
And it probably works, in the short term, gives some relief.
It does provide short-term relief, yeah. But our sources are pretty clear. Long-term, avoidance actually hinders recovery.
It stops the healing process.
It does, and it can even lead to feeling sort of numb emotionally, finding it hard to feel positive things.
Because you're essentially blocking the path to learning something new about those triggers.
Exactly. You don't learn that the situation might be safe now, or that the anxiety will eventually decrease if you stay with it.
Okay, so this is where in vivo exposure fits in.
In vivo.
Yeah.
Real life, right?
That's it. Facing those actual situations, places, or activities you've been avoiding because they stir up that trauma-related fear or discomfort.
What's the thinking behind that? How does it work?
Well, the core idea is to break that avoidance habit.
The one that gives temporary relief but keeps you stuck.
Right. By repeatedly encountering these situations in a safe way, you really learn that they aren't dangerous anymore.
And the anxiety, it goes down.
Over time, yes.
Yeah.
With prolonged, repeated exposure, the anxiety naturally decreases. That's called habituation. Your brain gets used to it, basically.
Look,
learns it's okay.
Learns the stimulus isn't a threat in this context now. Plus, successfully facing these things builds confidence, builds your sense of competence.
The sources had some good examples, didn't they?
Yeah, like the little boy in the waves gently going back to the beach.
For the taxi driver scared of bridges, practicing driving over them again and again.
It's key, though. The goal is confronting situations that are realistically safe. We're not talking about putting yourself in actual danger.
Right. It's about the perception of danger versus the reality. And it needs to be deliberate, repeated practice.
Consistent and prolonged, exactly. Not just brief, occasional encounters.
So how do you measure progress or how anxious you feel?
There's a tool for that, the SUDS scale, Subjective Units of Discomfort Scale.
Oh, okay. How does that work?
It's pretty simple, actually. A 0 to 100 scale. 0 is totally calm, no discomfort.
And 100?
100 is the most distressed or anxious you've ever felt. It's subjective, though.
Meaning my 70 might be different from someone else's 70.
Exactly. Your 100 is your 100. It's about tracking your own feelings during these exposure exercises.
Got it. So you use this SUDS scale to build a hierarchy?
Yes, an in vivo exposure hierarchy. You list out the situations you avoid because of the trauma.
And then you rate them.
Rate each one using your SUDS scale, from lowest anxiety to highest.
And these situations need to be specific.
Very specific, yes.
Yeah.
And accessible. So not just crowded places, but maybe the checkout line at X grocery store on Saturday morning.
Okay, that makes sense. Easier to tackle something concrete.
Right. And maybe starting with a friend could make it feel more manageable initially. The sources mentioned 3 main kinds of avoided situations.
What are they?
First, things you perceive as dangerous, but are actually pretty safe, like maybe walking alone in your neighborhood during the day or using a parking garage.
Okay. Second?
Reminders of the event itself. Could be anything similar looking places, certain types of clothing, smells, music, even news reports.
And the third type?
Activities you've just stopped doing, maybe because of depression or losing interest post-trauma. Things like hobbies, sports, seeing friends.
So the hierarchy covers quite a range of things.
It does. And again, the focus is always on safe or low-risk situations. Objectively dangerous situations are not part of this therapy.
Makes sense. So when you actually start doing the exposure, the homework, where do you begin on that list?
Typically, you'd start with items rated around 40 or 50 SUDS, moderate anxiety, but manageable.
And the key is?
To stay in the situation. Don't leave as soon as you feel anxious. Stay until the anxiety level drops significantly.
How much is significant?
Usually the goal is for it to decrease by at least half or until it feels much more manageable.
And you just keep practicing.
Consistent, prolonged practice.
Yeah.
That repetition is what helps the brain learn and adapt. Takes time and effort.
So to recap, first, understand these common trauma reactions, the re-experiencing, the arousal, the avoidance.
Right. Recognize what's happening.
Then there's this method, in vivo exposure, using the SUDS scale and a hierarchy.
To gradually, systematically face those avoided situations.
Building confidence and reducing anxiety along the way.
Exactly. It's about reclaiming parts of your life.
Okay, so here's a final thought for you, our listener. Think about your own life. Are there any preferences, maybe things you avoid, that seem harmless on the surface?
Little habits or routines, maybe?
Yeah. Could any of those actually be rooted in a subtle kind of avoidance? And maybe, just maybe, could facing some of those things gradually and safely
actually open up your world a bit more?
Something to consider. Definitely worth exploring these ideas further if they resonate. Thanks for diving deep with us today.